Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Review, a show where someone like me or any of you can come together to discuss all things media. Whether you want to talk about games, movies, books, shows, this is the place to be. Now, today, we are going to be talking about one of the most misunderstood classics in media, and that's Frankenstein.
Yep.
What do I mean by misunderstood? If you know anything about Frankenstein, let me rephrase that. Growing up, if you knew anything about Frankenstein, you would believe that when I say that name, it's the monster, right? It's the doctor, and then his Frankenstein, his monster is Frankenstein, um, and that's really not the case. If you don't know, Victor Frankenstein is the doctor, and the book is named after him. And he creates this creature that actually goes unnamed fully the entire time, never named, um, which is very, very important to the story that he never gets a name because it. I'll get into why it's important. I'm getting ahead of myself. Because as you can see, first episode back, and I'm on my own. I've never done an episode on my own, so bear with me. I'm very nervous. It's just been a really chaotic start to the semester, so I just wanted to get the first episode out the way and kind of plan ahead um, with my co-hosts for the rest of the semester. And I really, really wanted to talk about that. My computer is going haywire. I really want to talk about Frankenstein because it's a book that I read years ago and I loved, and the film we're going to be talking about today is actually from 2025, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Excuse me. Um, so Frankenstein is starring Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein and Jacob Elordi as the creature. Now, here's the thing. The movie is good, right? However, it's not as good as it could have been. So I'm going to be approaching this review from a book reader, which is like the most annoying person you can be when reviewing movies that were adapted from books because you come into these movies and into these spaces with prior experience and prior knowledge, I should say, of the subject matter, right? Like of the movie, of the story. Jeez. Um, and that kind of set my expectations high because there were scenes that were in the book that I really, really hoping were in the movie and they weren't. And it like kills me to this day. Like I saw this movie actually 2 months ago now. I saw it in December. Um, and okay, let's get into it. Okay, so like I said, Frankenstein is literally it follows the story of Victor Frankenstein, who a man obsessed with knowledge and obsessed with the unnatural and the kind of like what we would call unnatural philosophy, which is just kind of like a supernatural or not of the natural sciences, right? Like not really agreeing with chemistry as it is, or biology, or anything like that. He wanted nothing to do with that, and he always wanted more, 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 more. That's what Victor Frankenstein is. So he creates this creature. He gives life to an inanimate object, and he's like, "Oh, this was a mistake. I hate it. Throw it away." And so chaos ensues, and there's revenge and murder and all of the other not so fun things, but very intriguing. Sorry, when you are reading it or watching it for the first time. Except for the movie, if you go in watching it, I do think it's good. If you go in watching it without any prior knowledge, I think it's good. I think the movie was done really well. The cinematography is great. The coloring, amazing. However, if you go knowing the story, it's just not as good. Now, don't get me wrong. I think everyone did a phenomenal job. I think Jacob Elordi as the creature was a really great choice. He's super tall. He's super lanky. And that's kind of what the creature is because, he was constructed out of nothing, basically, or little different body parts. However, you can tell that it's
Right.
Jacob Elordi. Like, you can tell there's a human there. And it's so important that Frankenstein's monster is not human, but is kind of the, what's the word? Example of humanity's faults and humanity's flaws and humanity's hatred and violence. But also at the same time, it's also humanity's tenderness and their care. And Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein, is played by Oscar Isaac. I think he did an amazing job. However, in the movie, we get more of a traumatic almost background for Victor Frankenstein. Like, we see so much of his family and how they influenced him with, no other way to put it, like parental issues with like his father and his mother. Spoiler. I know I try to keep spoilers to a minimum on this show, but like I have to say this. Otherwise you're not gonna get you like I need you to be here with me. He loses his mother at a pretty young age. I think he's maybe like 8 or something, like between 8 and 12. And then he loses his father, I think, a couple years after that. And in this, his father is like very angry at him and very like strict and very much like hates his mom almost. It's so strange because if you're looking at it from the book, he grew up with a really loving family. Like, his parents loved him, his brothers loved him, Elizabeth loved him, which is another big thing in the movie that isn't exactly true in the book. Like, Elizabeth does play a part in the book because she is such a kind and beautiful, perfect girl and woman. But she plays more of a role in the movie, which isn't like a bad thing. But it is more like it takes away from Victor's
Had
not personality, Victor's character, because we have so many other characters, because we focus a lot on Elizabeth more than we do in the book. Because, she is the kind of perfect natural lover of nature and, the earth's beauty and kind of recognizing the beauty in the world, whereas like Victor would kind of be the opposite of that, because in the movie he very much is his father, which it's for better and for worse because they're both intelligent men, but they also take things too far and they become so strict. And the reason that's such a big deal to me is because of my love for the book. And I'm actually rereading the book. Watching the movie inspired me to reread the book. And because of that, I'm sorry I keep coughing. I'm coming off of a cold and I just suffer with a cough from here on out for like 2 weeks after. But because they changed the relationship of Victor and literally everyone else around him, it takes away from him as a character. So in the book, spoilers, sorry, again, Victor is well loved. He's well taken care of. his parents will give him anything that he asks for. His brothers, like I said, they also love him. Elizabeth loves him because in the movie she's with his brother. She's with his brother, who is more liked than Frankenstein in his household, which is not the case because they're like destined to be together in the books, Victor and Elizabeth. And it just shows that this man becomes so obsessed with knowledge. Like that's his driving force. And because that's his driving force in the book, when he's faced with the reality of what he's done, of, you know, he's created this creature, that it like hits him. He's like, whoa, this is not right. And immediately he's like, no, I can't do this. He tries to live a normal life. He tries to forget about it. And then the creature comes back and it gets like super intense. And, you know, the creature, we get to hear his story, and, you know, there's a lot of revenge. And like I said, there's murder, because the creature, who can show humanity's kindness, also shows humanity's like vengefulness, its need for vengeance and revenge, and kind of like getting even almost. And in the movie, it's literally not that. It's not that at all, because he creates this creature, and it's like his pride. It's his pride and joy, like it would be a child, right? And then he becomes disappointed in it, and that's when he kind of doesn't care anymore. He wants to toss it aside, and he believes it dies in a fire when it doesn't, because it's too perfect to die, right? Because Victor took so much time and care to creating this creature that it's not easily killed, which is a big point in both the stories, which is great, in both the book and the movie, which I love. But in the movie, it feels more like the creature becomes this, I don't even know how to word it. I actually have a review here that like worded it perfectly. Okay, so it says, at what point this is from Reddit, True Film, the subreddit True Film, Darling Luna from 3 months ago. So shout out to them. Where is it? Oh my gosh. So they ask, at what point has the monster simply become too human? And that's in reference to the movie, because if you watch it, which I do recommend watching it. Like, I'm not saying that don't watch it. It sucks. It's great. Like I said, the cinematography, the color, the acting, everyone did really, really well, and it was really good. I recommend watching it. But because I'm a lover of the books and a media production student, I can't help but sometimes sit here and overanalyze film. So at one point has the monster simply become too human, and in robbing Frankenstein's monster of the crucial poetic tension that exists between his humanity and his grotesque nature, how much of a disservice has he done to the character? Talking about Guillermo del Toro, who is the director of this film. So like I said a little bit earlier, like probably like 2 minutes ago, Victor Frankenstein made sure that the creature was perfect. And I mean perfect, okay? So it's hard to kill him. It's hard for him to really be injured in general. He's super intelligent. He learns to survive on his own and better than humans, right? But despite all of the work that Victor has put into this creature,
Sure.
in the novel, we are still reminded again and again that he is not right, that he is grotesque in a way that warrants, fear and kind of violence, because they think he's like, well, a monster. They think he's abhorrent, which they love to use. Mary Shelley loves to use in the book to describe him. And that like anger and that hatred that kind of builds up in him and is taken out on Frankenstein's family and on well, not directly on Frankenstein because he needs his help, but on Frankenstein's family is so integral to the piece. And I really, really wish that they kept it in the movie. Like, I was waiting. There's a part that where the creature confronts Frankenstein for the first time after 2 years, I think it is. And he says, "I am thy Adam, although I ought to be a fallen angel." And I think that's like one of the that's a bar, you know what I mean? Like, that's a bar. And I love it so much because they're like yelling at each other on this mountain and it's like raining and it's so cool. And they don't have that scene. Oh, I just spit. I'm sorry. They don't have that scene in the movie. They reference, him as Adam, like the Adam of Frankenstein's mind. But it's because they don't have that actual confrontation scene, and it's so annoying. Like, it actually makes me mad. It actually makes me mad. Why does it make me mad? Because if you don't know anything about the original Mary Shelley story, it was created because of her strained relationship with her father. So like Frankenstein was representative of her father. So like the hatred and the anger and that kind of like clashing would be like, in her case, like she would probably be the monster. And like that tension translates to the book, right? And we see it throughout the entire book because because of that tension, we see Frankenstein kind of deteriorate again and again when he's reminded. Like, he kind of falls into this madness and kind of falls into this, like, he actually gets physically ill more than once because of it. And it's so good. But because we don't get that in the movie, because we don't get that relationship, because it's more of like kind of an abusive father and who then abandoned their child, we don't get that same level of anger and hatred that we do in the books. And that makes me mad because I love anger in media. And I think it's so good because when in the movie we see the creature's life and he seems very human. Like, when I mean very human, I mean there's also this relationship, this like weird relationship between the creature and Elizabeth, because like I said, she takes more of an active role in this movie as opposed to the books. That it's just, it feels strange, right? Like, there's like a marriage scene and he like crashes the party, the creature crashes the party, and you're like, what, literally, what is happening right now? So it's not, it's like, it's so, that's where it like diverts so much from the book. Like, okay, from the very beginning, it really diverts so much. Like, Victor lives an entirely different life. But it's like so intense in the book. Like, this need to humanize the creature that it definitely takes away from Victor as a character. Mind you, this is called Frankenstein, named after who? Victor Frankenstein, okay? Like, this is his thing. Like, this is his story. And because, back to the point of the crucial poetic tension that exists between his humanity and his grotesque nature, how much of a disservice has been done to his character if you read the book, which I'm not saying you have to read the book, because unless you get like a translated, like a modernized one, because it is from the 1800s, it is a bit of a heavy read. I haven't had to read a book like that in a very long time, so it's taking me a lot longer than it probably would have. Because we spend so much time humanizing the creature, there's this sense of forgiveness that they like, not maybe not like reconciliation fully, but like on the path of forgiveness and understanding, I guess, that we see. And my friend, after we watched it, because we always have like long discussions after we watch movies, she was like, it feels like more of a mother and firstborn daughter relationship, where it's like kind of that like a little bit of an understanding, because she is a woman, that like if you have problems, but like if you have problems, if you're the firstborn daughter and with your mother, like there can be issues there because of XYZ, but it's different than if it's like your dad and the firstborn daughter, which is what it should have been, right? Like there's more empathy and sympathy in that like mother-daughter relationship than there would be in that the father-daughter relationship, because we see all the time, I feel like, on the internet, and it's kind of true of my family too, of the first daughter, if the dad says something, she's like, okay, and like she'll argue back, and she'll like argue the most, and that's what to me Frankenstein was, because that's how I read it, knowing Mary Shelley was like, yeah, this is basically like an ode to my father, and like actually I think ode might be have a positive connotation, I'm not sure, but no way it's like that. She's makes that anger kind of, it like makes it more palpable, I don't know. But not like it's been like, I think at like almost 20 minutes, and I wanted to try and keep it shorter, but I'm very passionate about Frankenstein. Overall, there were other things missing from the movie, okay? There is a character, oh my god, I just read that part and I can't remember her name. I'm gonna look it up. There is a character, Death. The first character, Death. Well, okay, I lied. His mom died. Sorry. But the first big character, Death, after the creature is alive, is Frankenstein's youngest brother. He's like 6 years old. Or like, yeah. And we realize that, or sorry, I should say, Frankenstein realizes that it was the creature that did it. He's like, there's no one else that could have done it, okay? Like, it's literally him. What is her name? Like, it's his fault. He's the monster. He's the worst. And, oh my gosh, I literally can't remember her name. But this girl that Frankenstein and Elizabeth knew growing up takes the blame, and she's killed. And I'm saying this because it's not in the movie, which sucks, because then it's boom, boom, his brother, and then a childhood friend of his dead, and he thinks it's the creature's fault, and the creature is like the flaw of his like life, which kind of. and it kind of leads to greater tension between them before the confrontation, before we get to hear the creature's story, which is pretty similar, aside from, you know, the weird toddler stage in the movie. And it kind of, that really leads the Frankenstein to spiral in the books. So we don't really get that in the movie, which again sucks. I wish we got to see Frankenstein spiral more in the movie, which kind of feels a little bit dark to say, but that's okay. I also wish we got to see. No, I guess we didn't really need to see his little brother because he, anyway, you know, sorry. sorry. But yeah, if I watched the movie without the knowledge of the books behind it, I would give it a 9 out of 10. Okay? Because I have the knowledge of the movie, I would give it a 6 out of 10. I do recommend watching it. If you have read Frankenstein, if you haven't, I recommend watching it to make your own opinions. To form your own opinions if you read the book, but if you haven't read the book, I recommend watching it because it is a movie that's really well done. It's so beautiful. The imagery used in it, the coloring, oh, it's so good. It is so good. But for plot wise, if I had to actually wait, sorry. Cinematography, coloring, all of that, 10 out of 10. Story, if you don't know the book, 9 out of 10. Story, if you know the book, 6 out of 10. I'm talking too much, I'm not have to cough. Overall, it was a really good experience. I actually recommend watching it with friends because I love watching films with friends, and now you don't have to like get into talks like we do, but you know, sitting there watching with friends, it's so fun. Because then you know you have someone to bounce ideas off of and opinions off of. But yeah, that's really all we have time for. So I really appreciate you for sticking with me, and I am so excited to be back. I'm so excited for the review to be back. It was nerve-wracking for the first episode to be by myself, but I love Frankenstein enough that it really actually wasn't that big of a problem. If you see any spots on my shirt, one of our prop books did bleed on me, so please ignore that if you do see it. Hopefully we will be making a video next week, an episode next week, and we're going to try and do something different because we do a lot of movies. We did do Haunted Hotel, and we talked about all things Christmas for our last episode of the fall semester, but we hope to kind of expand it into games and books and more shows, and hopefully we get to do that next week. So this has been episode, I guess, 1 of season 2, maybe, of the review. So I'll see you next time. Bye.